morning and welcome to Morning Coach Today. I am so glad you're with us. Hey, it's JB. Super pumped you're here. And it is the 17th of April, ready to take it on, rocking and rolling. It's a Monday. As you know, I love Mondays because we get to get organized and really get after it. Dealing with a little bit of a throat issue, as you can tell, a little throaty. We've got some pollen up here in Indiana as it's starting to go spring, a lot of new growth. This is up in the woods, and so be struggling a little bit with this week. I'm working on it, but it's coming, but I'm having a little bit of issue with my throat, so apologize about that, but it is what it is. I can only control so much with the allergies and pollen. Some important notes real quick as we get started. Today, we have a live coaching today at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 Central, okay? So if you get a chance to come into the community, would love to have you come into the meetup. We're going to be talking a little bit about personal podcasting. I know we just got a lot of that information out last week because we've been building so much stuff, but would love to have you there because we're going to be talking about next month and what we want to build for next month. So obviously personal podcasting is up now. We've got the checklist, the PDF, the presentation. You can go check that out if you're on that track. We're also starting to build the other tracks out, which are really cool. And we'll get into that in more detail as we're building the coaching programs out. With that being said, the intake forms are the first intake form is in place. If you get a chance to fill out, please do. We've got a brand new email system. So we've been emailing, and if you haven't been getting emails, please shoot us an email, info@morningcoach.com. Make sure we've got the correct email for you, and you're in the new system, and you're getting those emails from us so that we can build that system for you. Again, if this is something you want to do. If you just want to, hey, hang out and continue down the path that you've been going, that's great. We're building this, obviously, for a big launch. This is 5.0. This is what we've been working on from last couple years, actually, and we're really bringing it to fruition in May. So we're getting it all built, and you can participate at any level you want to. I preface that because if you do want to get some of the coaching and some of the stuff we're doing, I need that intake form from you. And of course, we've got the question answers in the community. We got Joyce in there, Brad in there, Cecil's been rocking there, John, Jurgen, obviously. It's great to see people jump into the community and actually starting to get in there, and we're starting to work more. And having a meetup today gets people in there. And if you haven't integrated into that, tried the mobile app, it's a great time to get started. Again, none of the stuff you have to do, but it's something that we are doing as we're building this into a much more complete coaching system about helping you become certain about where you're going and then caring about you, which is really critical. As I've mentioned in the last couple of Coach Casts, how I just felt that was a part that was missing in my life that is needed, okay? So again, intake forms are out, live coaching today. We're rocking and rolling, and things are moving here. This week, we're going to be talking about capitalism, and we're going to talk about the system specifically. As you know, this is something that I enjoy discussing because it's something that I try to understand and then work around. I want freedom. That's what I've always worked towards, is freedom in my life. And this week, we're going to help you kind of understand the system and where it works, or why it works. And I tell you what, I may grab a sip of tea here and there. I just shut off the recording. Don't want to do that. I'm going to keep going. I like to get on roll. So I might just every once in a while grab the tea like this and take a sip if you don't mind, because it keeps my throat kind of moist as we're rocking and rolling here. Back to this week, which I think is really important. We're going to talk about living and thriving in capitalism today, and then get into this in more depth the rest of the week. We've got our book study tomorrow. And then moving into Wednesday, our deep day, we're going to talk about creating your own reality. And we're going to discuss some ILD principles, like working within the system or around the system. Again, something I think is really important. Thursday, of course, we answer your questions, Ask JB. We'll be answering more questions probably from Monday, but we'll see what we get in. And then Friday, we've got, this is an important one. It's about taxes, but it's pay to Caesar what is Caesar, but understand the system. Obviously, tax day is today for those of you in the United States, but I want to go over what that means and what pay to Caesar, what is Caesar's, what that means, right, and kind of why that's important. We understand the system. And then Saturday, we're going to talk about where to keep up with the changes in the system and how to observe what's happening. The last couple of weeks, you could see some things that have blown up in the media. I don't follow the media a lot, but it's interesting to watch that. One of the things was the Bud Light kind of issue where they sponsored a trans person. And it was really interesting for me, not from a business perspective, but from a systems perspective. Get into that a little bit today, but we'll talk a little bit about why you should be observing that stuff, because you're talking about, multi-billion-dollar companies that are pushing the needle in certain areas, and you just need to be aware. And I think part of my job is to help you with that. I've always been good as a futurist, knowing what's coming. And a lot of this is observing cues so that you can understand where you should be investing and watching what's going on and how it's going to affect your life. I think that's just as important. And then Sunday, which I love, is our spiritual day. We're going to talk about your spiritual journey within the system or with the system. So where does that fit into things? And where does the spirit fit into all this stuff? So like I said, a huge week. I'm going to be struggling a little bit. I've got my voice. It's a little bit out, but that's okay. We can still rock and roll this thing. So again, I meant a little bit about, I've talked about the system before, and the system is built it's an economic system, right? It's a system of control. It just is what it is. It's capitalism is based on, creating a place where people can come and participate and control and make sure we don't have chaos and anarchy with billions of people around the world. And there's all different types of systems: socialism, communism, capitalism, right? And all the isms. But they're all very similar in scope in that there's an aspect of control, which I typically rebel against. I'll be honest, it's something that I don't want to be controlled. I've never been that way. I want to be very free and independent, and that's, a lot of my views reflect that. But with that being said, I still have a lot of views on each side of things. I try to be as a critical thinker to look at everything that's happening, be able to step back and then make the decisions based on that. I also have to face the reality of knowing that, as a metaphysician, somebody that believes in the universal laws and believes in law of attraction, law of vibration, law of focus, and these laws that are out there, that I've got to watch my focus, right? And I've got to watch getting involved in a economic system that's based on control and watching myself fall into it. So it's a balancing act that you really got to do. Like, you got to be aware of what's going on, but yet you don't want to fall into it and start becoming part of the issue, part of the problem. It's kind of like when I trained with Sir. For all those years, it was really hard for me to train because I did not want to manifest any negativity in my life. I didn't want to manifest some of the scenarios that we're doing. I mean, I'm learning how to, we call it schlock people out, right? For me, it was about the training, walking into the gym and getting in shape and feeling great about myself. And then I didn't want to get into a gun disarm or a knife disarm. In reality, it's just not something I wanted to manifest in my life. But yet I was doing the training, right? It was still a practical thing to put into my toolbox, knowing that I wouldn't want to bring that into my life, but here I was focused on it. And that's an important aspect of understanding deeper philosophy and deeper ideals of the way we live and being able to understand this idea of manifesting, right? So we've got to be able to step back and go, okay, this is going on around me, but I don't want to participate in it. But I need to be aware of what's happening around me. I got to be aware of what's going on so that I can make decisions on what's going to happen when I'm, in the environment that I'm in. So it's a real heady thing to discuss. It's something that's very deep, and understanding that will help you kind of judge and be aware of what's happening. So I brought up the Bud Light issue, which was really interesting because they put a trans activist on a can of Bud Light and obviously went to go market in that area, which is a very controversial area in the United States right now, around the world. And when you look at it from a marketing perspective, it's interesting because there aren't very many trans people in the world when you look at a percentage. I think there's the latest research shows like 1.5 people identify as trans in the United States out of 290 million people. And if you think about Bud Light, that's typically not the audience that you're looking for. But when you look at it, what they're doing is they're targeting kind of the younger, I guess you'd call it the woke generation, right? And they're trying to go after those people instead of allowing their older crowd to just kind of disappear. Those old people that now are pouring out their Bud Lights because they're upset about the trans activists being put on a can of beer. For me, again, I could give you my personal opinion on all of that stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to change anybody's opinion. It's not going to make a difference in anybody's life, my personal opinion. But what we need to do, instead of getting in the minutia of anger or frustration or celebration and high-fiving, whatever side you're on, is to step back and look and go, why is this even occurring? Because it doesn't make any sense from a marketing standpoint. It really doesn't. I mean, there's 1.5 million out of 290 million people. Why would you pander to that audience? Why wouldn't you go after another audience? But I think what you have to look at is the system in general, and you see what is at play and how things are being manipulated and moved in certain directions. And one of the ways to watch that, and we're going to talk about this on Saturday too, is to watch these major companies. And it's why when we watch the marketing and the narrative that's out there, you see what's happening so that you can understand what's going on to benefit your family, your friends, and your community as a whole. Now, I'm not saying get involved. What I'm saying is to understand what is happening within the framework of the system. And I've always said, it's just a system. That's what's going on. And it's the way that particularly money's moving that we need to be aware of. And again, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent is not what it's about. Right now, what I would like you to do is be non-judgmental. What I want you to be is a critical thinker and to step back and to take a look at everything that's happening and go, okay, what's going on? What is happening in the world around me? Now, again, doesn't mean you don't go vote, doesn't mean you go be an activist or whatever the heck you want to do. I'm asking you to step back and be a critical thinker and going, why? And that's a wonderful question to ask when we talk about living and thriving in capitalism. Again, my job is to help you wake up to have freedom and live a wonderful life, to give you some motivation and some energy to start your day. That's what I love to do. And then to wake you up to step out of this stuff and take and look around and go, okay, how can this work for me? Or what's really going on so that you can see the trends and you can see what's happening. So you can build a system, whatever it is for you, whether it's an organizational system, a spiritual system, keeping your head straight system, right? A meditation system, whatever it is that's going to serve you to live the best life possible that you can. Okay? And I will tell you, the powers that be are all at one thing. Like everybody, whether it's China, the United States, Russia, whatever, everybody's trying to advance their population. They're trying to create affluence. They're trying to create prosperity in their own kind of selfish ways, right? Even in the United States, we're all very selfish. That's one of the things I wish we just all come out and say, hey, the system is very selfish. And that's what it's meant to be. I mean, it's meant to be based on selfishness because that's what gets people to move. That's what gets people to do things. It's like, I want a better car. I want a better house. I want, a better lifestyle. So understanding those underlying things, you can step back and observe everything that's happening around you and really go, wow, okay, I see what's happening. And then you can make some sense of it and go, okay, I see. The reason that they're doing this is because they understand that older generation's dying off. They're trying to get a newer generation. And what they're finding is a newer generation is more acceptable to different ideas, different things than kind of the older community. Now, they could be wrong. Obviously, marketing can be wrong. But typically when a company like that takes a big shot, you can see what they're trying to do. Again, and I'm not sitting here saying somebody's trying to force a narrative or any of that stuff. What I'm saying is observe, see what's happening in the world, and then you can utilize that information to put it in your own database to understand, in your own mental database, to understand what direction you want to go and be looking for opportunities that are going to crop up, because that's the thing. In any chaotic situation, any change, there's always opportunities. And so for me, that's what I'm doing. I'm stepping back and looking, and instead of getting emotional, which is so easy to do, it's so easy to get pulled into all this stuff, just step back and just observe. And for me, there's some particular areas we'll talk about it Saturday, but like I said, kind of watching it. YouTube's one because it's a lot of independent creators. Not watching the news, but just following what's happening in the noise. Like, I don't even need to be in the news to see what's going on. It's crazy. Like, it just pops up in my life, and I don't even watch the news. But being able to have a couple sources where you see things that are happening and go, oh, okay, we see what's happening, and being able to be ahead of the curve, right? Be ahead of what's going on. Just like when COVID happened, it was a big change. There were a lot of people that really did well during COVID, and there were a lot of people that got hurt. And part of the reason is because people are listening to other people instead of understanding their own information and being able to work within the system. So ILD, the concept, okay, sip of tea, is really this idea that even within the framework of the system, even the politics of the day, everything that's going on, right, there's a better way to live. And there's a better way to understand the dynamics of what is happening in the world around us to be able to make adjustments and shifts in our game plan and be to focus on ourselves while all the noise is going on. And as we grow Morning Coach 5.0 and as we move into helping you become more certain, this is one of the things that I want to do, especially those of you that are on the ILD lifestyle track or ILD professional expert track, is to really look deeper into these situations. And instead of getting emotional and trying to get on side, step back and okay, what does this do for my family? Why are these things happening? And maybe things are opening up a little bit. Maybe there's some opportunity for me to jump in and do this or that or whatever it is. But that's where we've got to go. And so when it comes to this idea of living and thriving in capitalism, how we're going to live and thrive is to be able to understand and be able to critical think and see what is moving the masses and be able to work within the framework of that, okay? And I know this is a very deep day, and it means a lot to me because it's something that I think is really important that I see a lot of people that are missing, and they're not teaching it in schools. Parents aren't teaching this to their children. People are just getting sucked in to a lot of different things, and what that sucking in does is allows them to be controlled. And again, in the big picture, that's not a bad thing when we have billions of people in the world. At some point, you need government, you need narratives, you need propaganda, you need to be able to move and shift people. That's just the system of organization that is out there, which we call governments, right? And then we have business that's also doing the same thing. And people are looking to, generate revenue and create, profit share for their stakeholders. That's really what it's about. And life is weird. We all want it to be about, at least we do at Morning Coach, altruism and bettering of our fellow man and hiring of consciousness. But that's not what the system's built for. It's not built for that, unfortunately. We could have built it years ago to build it that way, but it wasn't. And all these isms, socialism, capitalism, communism, all these isms, right, are structured as vehicles to work with the populace. So from us, from a motivational standpoint, what's exciting about that is we're able to step outside of it, right? We're able to elevate above it. And that's why I love being around Morning Coach people, because it's about higher thought. It's about higher purpose. It's about higher principles without getting caught up in the minutia of what's going on around us, but being able to step back and observe it, get up in that airplane, see it from 30,000 feet and say how this is going to affect my business, how this is going to affect my life, what is really going on, and being able to add that to your database so as you start to make decisions, you will start to future-proof yourself from the things that are happening, okay? And I know it's a deep topic, but it's all about awareness. And remember, one of our foundational pieces is awareness, not only of ourselves and what's going on in our mind, but also what's happening around us. And we're going to spend some time in that this week. Tomorrow we'll get back to Cheating Death, our book, but then we're going to spend some time with that, okay? So let's get out there and have a great one. Hopefully you'll be able to stop by and see us in the live coaching today. I would love to see you there. We're going to talk about next month and what we're doing, finish up and answer any questions that we have today and rock and roll in that coaching. And then there's just so much going on, and I appreciate you being here. So let's go out there, have a fantastic day, deep one today. Let's be critical thinkers and observers instead of getting all into the system. And let's observe the system and see how it can work for us and get excited about that. Understand that we can actually, and we're going to talk about this Wednesday, create our own reality. And that's when it gets really, really awesome when we start applying metaphysical principles to the data that we're receiving. Stepping out of it, being able to create and really work on our own self and our own world, within our own world. And that's really what it's about. Okay? So I love you. Go have a great day, and I'll be back with more right here tomorrow on morningcoach.com.